Hello, everybody. Welcome to another informative show to be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Sotol, the show of radio, Houston, and agave spirits. Today's guest is the wonderful Jorge Raptis, the U.S. National Educator for Diageo Reserve Latin Spirits. We're talking some rum, some Don Julio Tequila. We talk about a lot of things, but we talk about mostly the closeness and the camaraderie in the agave spirits industry. Jorge has seen a lot of transformation in the tequila, the sotol, and the mezcal spaces. And with the recent juggling around of resources at Diageo, how the new program, Diageo Reserve, is looking. He was in town for Diageo World Class. We got a chance to sit down and chat and drink some lovely, lovely sotol. And I hope you guys enjoyed this chat with Jorge Raptis.
You know what? I don't know. It's one of those things that come with the job. But like in this case, I was Sunday. I was in my bed.
Okay.
And I was texting Clayton, asking him a few things, and then I see a picture on Facebook, and I see Ricardo. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna text him as well. So we start texting, the three of us, and it's like, it's too bad that you're down there. I don't have anything to do, this weekend. I had a few things canceled, and it's like, come over. I'm like, are you serious? Like, no. You're going to be with Guillermo and, with Sergio from Don Fulano. I'm like, no, you know what? Don't worry about it. Maybe we'll see each other next time. Like, no. I asked Clayton, come over. So I'm like, okay, let me check. There was a flight leaving like in 2 hours. So
wow.
I booked it. 2 hours later, I'm in the airport. A few hours later, I'm already in Jalisco. Take a taxi to Arandas, and I saw them there.
Oh, it's amazing.
So it was kind of cool, just to spend at least 2 days there.
Yeah.
Totally unexpected, and those are the the best sometimes trips that you have.
Yeah, just last minute like that, impromptu, right?
So yeah, I was able to meet them there. We went to have dinner, and I see Sergio from Don Fulano. I see Guillermo, from Fortaleza.
Yeah,
and Jorge, what are you doing here? So it was pretty cool to see them, impromptu like that.
It's a family, isn't it?
It is.
But it's not a huge one. I mean, people come into mezcal is really a big thing right now just because lots of people are traveling to Oaxaca and other states. But it is not a big family. You talk about Guillermo, you talk about Ricardo, Carlos, Camarena, like all these guys. We're all kind of buddies-ish, right?
Magali, correct. So I'm there, I'm thinking, I'm going to text a few friends as well.
Right.
And I wasn't able to see a few of them, but like Stefano Villafranca wasn't there when I was there.
Yeah.
But it's cool, it's a nice family. That's how I like to see it. That we all share that passion about agave, about tequila, about mezcal, about anything that is coming from Mexico. And the next day we had there was the party with Guillermo at the Cava, Fortaleza. And, I was there with him, and he's like, no, Jorge, you need to come, and you need to bring your tequila. I'm like, Guillermo, come on, it's your distillery, it's your party.
I'm not trying to...
No. Jorge, you are a good friend. You need to bring... how he is, he's so warm. He's so such a people's person. Mm-hmm. So I actually, show up with, a few bottles, and I stood behind the stick. We did, we gave some tequilas out there. There was also, of course, Don Fulano. There was Fortalezas. Andres, that does, all the mixology for them. Mm-hmm. A good friend of mine as well was there. So it's always, about like family, Well, it's not about who you're working with or it's all about family.
But what's interesting about that is that's almost unique to agave. Because if you go and you look at gin, right, which is different, very different category all across the world. There's not like a centralized location for gin, right? You could get it kind of anywhere. Everybody's got their take on it.
Yeah.
We're cool with each other, right? But it is not as, no, let's all enjoy all of the agave. Let's drink Don Julio let's drink Fortaleza in the same sitting. It's not really like that. So why do you think it's so hospitable, like agave spirits and that community of people?
I think that comes from the history of how Mexico, and Mexicans are.
Yeah.
From how you were brought up from when you were a kid.
Right.
Everything is about community. Everything is about family, about lending a helping hand to anybody, your neighbors. Everything was like that. And that's what I love about Mexico. At the same time, my family being from Greece, the same mentality, they're always open. They're not about having, sometimes, I feel in the United States that you're like in your bubble of house and you get into your bubble of car, you go to your bubble of work and back. And you don't actually, tend to go outside your comfort zone of people.
Yeah.
And I love the old days, when, you knew the first name and last name of the people that really interacted with you. Maybe the milkman even,
Right. Mailman, milkman, all
yes, we knew everybody. And you tended to go to many community events and open, yourself. So that's something that I do miss a lot and that I find still in Mexico.
Yeah.
Being in Mexico is already, your mentality changes and you start acting differently. You start acting, more friendly.
Yeah, it's strange because you would think we don't get it a lot in the States. We like you said, we are in our little bubbles. We're in our houses. We just kind of focus on ourselves. And it's an interesting time that's happening with the election and all that too. But it is always lovely to go to a place where it's about community, it's about being hospitable.
Yes.
Right. And that's the love. There is just this love of each other there,
Correct. And I like, that they see who I am.
Yeah.
A lot of people will think, oh, he works for this brand. And they only see the brand.
Right.
They don't see the person. And that's the beauty about, being in Mexico with all these, big, names in tequila and agave. And they see me as a person. And that's what I love the most.
It's funny because some people become recommended, right? So it's like, oh, you got to talk to Jorge. Because Ricardo is such a lovely person.
Yes.
I'm not even sure. I mean, I know the brands he's kind of affiliated with now, and I know the brands you're affiliated with, but you guys are great people. And that's the thing. It's like I like and I will always go through whatever lengths I have to because we've been working at this for about a year just to sit down and be able to chat, which is a lovely thing.
Finally we're here. Yes.
Finally made it happen on a Sunday, no less, right? But it's about the people, and it's not about the brand. Yes, we'll talk about the brand, but it's about you, And before we were kind of recording, you're saying how there's this big journey in school. You had 9 years of higher ed, but it all started out in Mexico City. Is that where you grew up?
Yes, I was born there and I grew up there. My mother is Greek.
Okay.
My father born in Mexico with a Greek father and a Mexican mother that had a little bit of French and Spanish.
Yeah.
But, I'm more Mexican than beans. Yeah. So definitely I grew up there. And when I was around 16, my family decided to move to Greece.
Really?
So it was one of those, weird. My father, it's like me very much. If he, sets himself, an idea of doing it, he just goes and does it.
That's great.
And executes. And he's always, great at it.
What does your dad do? Or what did he do?
At this moment, he's retired. But, he used to be still a priest. You cannot take away the priesthood.
Yeah.
He was the head of the church in Mexico, of the Greek Orthodox Church.
Oh, wow, okay.
And he also had a community, a church in Houston.
Oh, really?
But before that, he worked for many companies like Mexican Airlines for 20 years. So I grew up in, playing in the airplanes.
Yeah.
I always thought of myself.
A bit, right?
Yes, I travel a lot. Since I was, I think, 1 year old, I was already, in Greece and traveling. And
it's amazing.
He worked for Coca-Cola in North and South America. So he worked for a lot of big companies.
Yeah.
And it's very strange. Like some of the things that has happened to my family or have shifted the direction where my father went were big things. One of them being like in Mexico in the 70s, there was this massacre. They call it Tlatelolco, that the government actually killed students.
Oh, geez.
So they shut down the university. My father didn't have an opportunity to go back at that time. One of these big figures in history, Jacobos, he was the head of the Church of Whole America. You can actually see him in one of the first Times magazine in the cover.
Oh, really?
With Martin Luther King next to him.
Wow.
So he offered my father to come to Boston and offer him a scholarship. So he did.
Really? And so your father he's already had some kind of professional career at this point.
So he started, and then because of that, big issue with the students, they closed the school. So he actually took his offer and went to Boston. And this school is called Hellenic College Holy Cross. Oh. So it's a school, and it does have the theological school. So he never did the theological school because he's the masterate.
Yeah.
And he went to Greece in a scholarship, met my mother in a party.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so strange. My mother's sister was marrying my father's cousin. They met at the party. Yeah. 1 hour later, my father proposed.
And, oh my God, that's incredible.
1 month later, they were married in the same church, and they actually got married. And my father took my mother to Mexico.
Wow.
And my mother didn't speak Spanish or anything like that. But, that's when he started being a professor, and then Mexican Airlines and all these things.
Wow.
Well, to make a big story short, another big event like the earthquake in Mexico of 1985, where, in Greece, my family, heard basically that Mexico was destroyed, completely destroyed. And it was a very, hard times in Mexico. A lot of buildings collapsed and killed a lot of people. Wow. So some of these dignitaries came, and my father, working in Mexican Airlines, he was in charge of this room where all these dignitaries, and one of the people that came to help was Jacobs again.
Oh, okay.
So, it's like 17 years later, he sees him, from far away. It's like, come
I remember
here.
You.
Yeah. It's like, it's time for you to become a priest. And he's, basically, he declined. But one day he just woke up and said, you know what, I want to finish, and I want to become a priest. Now, being a priest, a lot of people have the idea of, Catholic.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is Greek Orthodox, you said.
Correct. Right? So, the first ramification from Christianism was Roman Catholics and Catholic Orthodox. Okay. So they were the same, basically.
Really?
Until the 7th century, that they started, changing and became the 4 patriarchs, and on one side, and the Pope on the other.
Okay.
So they split, and some of these changes that they couldn't get married was until the 11th century. So, of course, you need to be married and be a priest, in order to have children and be married. You cannot become a priest and then be looking, who am I going to marry?
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I said, well, correct. Are they allowed to touch women at that point? I don't know. Okay, good. So this is appealing. This is more appealing than the Greek Orthodox.
Yes. In that sense, yes. It's very based in old traditions. And it hasn't changed since its beginnings.
Yeah.
So I was brought up more into the Catholic because being in Mexico.
Right.
And at a certain point, we couldn't go to the Greek Orthodox because there was also another figure in Mexico, Pablo de Ballester, who got assassinated he was kind of mixed into the politics of Mexico with the president. And so
interesting.
He actually built a lot of different buildings like the Teatro Helénico in Mexico City and many buildings. And he was very popular. He was the Hollywood of Mexico will go there to get married.
I see. Okay.
So once they actually assassinated him, they closed the church, so we couldn't go.
Oh, wow.
So I was more involved with the Catholic, at that time.
Just because it was safer.
And then, there was nothing. So, and after that, my father comes back and reopens the church after many years.
Wait, so the Boston piece is before he reopens it, though, right?
So he gets assassinated, and they close everything.
Right, they close everything
for many years until my father becomes a priest, and they send him to Mexico.
Okay, so it's full circle.
Yeah.
So how long? So you said you were roughly 16 then when you kind of went to Boston, and your father went and studied there.
Correct.
So did you speak English and all of that?
We spoke, but very 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 little.
Yeah.
It was basic. We were also trying to learn Greek, and many other people say like, no, to Greek and many other languages, forget about it.
Yeah.
Just the Spanish and the English. So it was in Boston when I started to really get into the English.
Right.
And later on, after I graduated from high school there, I went to college with the best professor in Greek as well.
Really?
And that's how I got the Greek.
So you did. So you're trilingual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get to practice the Greek?
Yes. I was just there in summer,
Yeah.
in the islands and visiting my family. Actually, yesterday I just purchased my ticket to go to
so you're going.
Greece this winter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my parents spent half of the year in Greece and half of the year in the United States. But I convinced them to go and forget about the United States. Go and stay in Greece. So they're right now actually talk to my mother. She sold everything right now. They sold everything. My parents are leaving in 2 weeks. So in order for them not to
stay in Greece, then, don't you? Yeah.
Yes. So I'm gonna visit them and make sure that they're okay.
Well, so when you kind of coming into your own and you're learning English and getting more familiar with it, did kind of following in the footsteps of your father, maybe doing the priesthood thing, was that something you said, oh yeah, this makes sense? I mean, I kind of probably know the answer, but...
No, I was kind of, the black sheep of the family. I was a little out there. So I have a lot of respect for priests and the people that have that mentality of
discipline,
being so
man,
disciplined.
Right?
Yes. My father always, like you see your father, I always had respect for him.
Sure.
But once he became, a priest, and I saw him how much he had to study for it. Like the people in Harvard would come to this university and fail miserably.
Wow.
So it was very hard. And for him to be Mexican, at the beginning was not like something that they were used to. Mm-hmm. So he graduated with honors. He was the first of his class. And that, gave me a lot of respect for my father.
Yeah, especially if it's so difficult to study that much. I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And he became, he did his master's and he started publishing books. So I definitely, got a lot of that vibe from my father that, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're doing, be the best on what you're doing. So what looked more attractive? Were you wanting to be in a band? Were you wanting to do business? I mean, where were you leaning? I started around a very young age, like maybe 14, working in this place. It was a restaurant inside like a Six Flags in those days.
Okay, yeah.
So I started my career making corn dogs. Yes.
How far you've come.
Yes. So I was very much, involved in a lot of the restaurants, and I like that arena.
Yeah.
I was,
is it the people? Is it the process? What about it appealed to you?
I think I was always into eating, and that was the initial thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I started working. I've done so many different things. Like in Boston, I started painting houses. I work in the grounds crew.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I work a little bit in the radio and the TV. As a on-air personality.
You got it all, don't you?
And the restaurants was always there. So I started working at the restaurant of a friend, a Greek friend that actually, closed all the restaurants and moved to Greece. But it was very similar to Papacitos in Houston.
Yeah.
So I started as a busboy, then, waiter. After that, I started managing a little bit. And from there, I went to hotels.
Hotels, okay.
And I was managing most of the, the catering, the
food side of it.
Food, it was, the restaurant, the bar. I had different saloons that, used to cater. So I met a lot of friends because of my connections in the radio industry. So I met a person that actually helped me get my foot into the door of spirits and wine and beer.
Okay.
So I started working. They offered me a job with Coors Light at that time.
Okay. So did you move to Texas yet? Are you still in Massachusetts?
That was actually in Houston.
In Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I skipped a lot. I basically from Boston, I went to Mexico, and I couldn't leave the country because of the military service.
Oh, okay.
So I had to stay. I served, and after there, I was able to come to the United States.
What branch did you have to serve in?
In Mexico, military service is a little different than here.
Okay.
My rifle was from the 1800s, and so it was more community, work and helping, communities. Yeah,
that's not bad. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's good for the community.
Yeah.
So you finish up service there, then you're able to come back, and you're working in Houston. You said
correct. There was some issues again with my father and security, so basically we had to move out from Mexico.
To move out. Oh.
Yeah.
Because he was a security risk?
Because there were different things happening when he came back and opened everything again, going back.
Oh, right, which had been fraught with this drama anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there were many buildings that had been built by the community, and they were basically businesses that became part of the church, and they couldn't do business anymore.
Oh, okay.
So threats started pouring, and there were a few things. So we had to move from Mexico, unfortunately, because I love Mexico. The lifestyle, it's very unique, and so we had to leave. And I followed my family. We came to the States. Actually, the first step to leave was El Paso.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went to El Paso.
How old are we talking? Early 20s or your late
early,
teens?
yeah, 20, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I stayed there for 3 years, and in one of those trips, I visited, a few cities in Texas, and I liked Houston. And I told my parents, like, you know what? I was still very, close to my parents.
Right.
We should all move to Houston, and they actually followed me. And,
you got them to move to Greece this time. You got them to move to Houston.
Yes. I don't know if I'm a good influence or a bad influence, but yeah, they are great people. That's the best thing I have, I think.
Yeah,
family. And yeah, so I started working in these restaurants, and finally I got my foot into the marketing company doing the cruise light products.
Yeah,
and we were a team of 10 in those days. It was called Latino Streetwise.
Okay.
So we used to do on premise, off premise, anything that they needed us to do, we were there, supporting the distributing companies. A year later, they let go around 8 of them. And they only stayed with 2 people. I was one of them. Mm-hmm. So I kind of, worried that this program is not going to last too long. So I remember I thought about what's the next step, and I wanted to get into spirits. So I went to...
So real quick, when we talk about spirits, did your father drink? Was that part of the community?
So very good point. My father didn't drink, okay?
Really?
He will maybe have a Cuba, once in a while, and he will tell me, make the Cubas.
Yeah.
So I will be the person that will make some Cubas for him and his friends. But it was only one beer. Really? It was never about drinking or anything like that. So my father always told me, you want to drink? Come here. I'll give you half a glass of wine or beer. You don't have to be hiding from me and drinking outside.
Yeah, he wants it to be an open thing, a conversation.
Yeah. So through the relations that he had with Coca-Cola and Mexican Airlines, he used to get a lot of packages in Christmas. a lot of boxes. In those days was Alay Domec, I remember.
Yeah.
So we had this room, service room on the back, and it was full of booze. I mean, you have no idea, from top to bottom, everything, cases and cases. The house had a bar as well, and he was never there. So he didn't know, one
it's
thing
just
from
back
the other.
There, right?
Yes. Or he didn't know about, how full it is, nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that was the beginning of my career. Correct. And tequila was always, in the parties. And actually, there was a nickname that actually had to do with tequila since I was young.
Okay.
So I don't know why I had to end up, doing things with tequila, because from the early age, I was very drawn into the spirits of Mexico.
When they've got, and we'll talk, there's something unique about it. There's stuff that's made in Texas, right? Doesn't taste like stuff that's made in Mexico. Whether it's tequila, whether it's this Sotol that we're drinking, that's made with beef. I mean, that's insane. This stuff tastes like a different world. So tequila has that power to just bring you and transport you to this different place. Very romantic.
Yes, and once I was in Boston, if there was a party or something, that's what I will bring.
Yeah, the tequila guy. Early on, the tequila guy. Yeah.
So I wanted to immerse myself into the spirits. Yeah. So I went to one of the distributing companies, Republic, and I knocked the door. I went to the front desk and said, can I speak to, in that time I was working multicultural, so I wanted to speak to somebody about the multicultural side of it. So they said, do you have an appointment? I'm like, no, I don't. It's like, so, if the person is available, I would love to speak to that person. So they actually called this person, came down.
Oh, that's
I introduced
amazing.
myself. I'm Jorge Raptis. I would love to work for your company. This is the work that I've done with all these accounts and all these restaurants and bars. And she was kind of surprised, to see me. And she basically was very courteous, and she got all my information. And 3 days later, actually, they called me.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
He's like, you need to come and we're going to do an interview. So I interviewed with them, and they actually offered me a job.
That is a brilliant story, because a lot of people don't realize. Well, you normally get your ass kicked out of the lobby if you just show up. It's like, yeah, sorry, you have an appointment. All right, security.
Yeah, security.
But it worked out. That's an amazing. What are we talking? The early 2000s, mid 2000s?
2004,
See,
more or less.
I feel like then you could do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But now it's a little bit different if you were to do that.
Correct. So I was very lucky, and I was able to start working for them. I used to do the whole portfolio of all the divisions.
Yeah.
And my main focus was multicultural, of course. So tequila was, the main
epicenter.
focus.
Yeah.
So I was able to learn a lot about tequila. I was able to learn a lot about the different brands, and I did that for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And actually, I tried to leave the industry. I actually left the industry. Just I wanted to leave the industry because it was.
No, okay.
Imagine that.
Oh man!
At that point, I was married, and it was a very tough life, as many people in this industry know. You need to have somebody that has that understanding of what it takes, to be in this industry.
Any kids at that point, or no?
Yes, I already had my daughter Zoe.
Wow!
And so I said, you know what, my family is important. I need to, try to listen to my wife.
Yeah.
And if she wants me to leave, I'm gonna do that, because that's
his
what a husband does.
First.
Yes.
Yes.
So I left. Things, unfortunately didn't work out, and I saw that it was not that industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that there was an opportunity with Don Julio.
Yeah.
Applied, and I was able to get a response from them, from New York, and I did an interview with them, like for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're gonna send you to Dallas to interview with the team, the Diageo team. So I came prepared as well. I came with all my presentations and everything. So it was more of me presenting to them than an actual interview. And once I was done, I was like, do you have any questions? And they were like, basically, you sold yourself. We don't have any questions.
Yeah, amazing.
So they told me it's going to be like a month. And I already had other offers with other industries.
In Mexican spirits as well? Or
not really. Stuff? It was more on the radio and other things. So
real quick, because what does a guy do? So what does a family guy do when they say, all right, the booze industry is causing some problems in my marriage? What's the normal job to get then? Where did you go outside of Republic?
Oh, well, I started as an account executive doing this company that had all these machines, like vending machines.
Okay.
And it was like, in those days, they still had rocolas, the music and different things to play, Pac-Man, things like that.
Yeah.
So I did that for a little bit, and I said, no, this is not for me. So a friend of mine worked selling actually cars. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try that. I'm good, salesman. I used to sell, we're talking about that, fragrances for different brands. I was very, successful at that. I might be successful at selling cars.
Yeah.
So I joined, in those days, it was the biggest dealership in the United States of Chevrolet.
Wow.
And I was working on the used car section, which, didn't have any parameters of how much you will sell a car. It could cost $10,000, and if you sell it for $20,000, good for you.
Yeah, right.
So I did that, and in my first month, I made like $17,000 in those years.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of money. But I felt horrible doing it, because it was basically a lot of grinding and taking advantage of people, basically.
Right.
There were cars that they were selling $5,000 more than the new one, used and with miles.
Wow.
So to me, it was like kind of a turn off. Yes, unethical. So I said, you know what? I cannot do this. Doesn't matter how good the money is. I cannot do it.
So that makes perfect sense. You're like, I'm going to do something because I believe in it.
Yeah.
And then the industry pulls you back in.
Pulls me back. Yeah. So I tell them, at the interview, I have this offer, and I cannot wait 1 month. So I left, thinking this is not going to happen.
Right.
The day later, they call me. You need to be in New York tomorrow. So I'm like, okay.
Fair enough.
That's good, you know. So I went to New York, and I still remember my trip. It was a horrible trip. I got there. I interviewed with the agency.
Yeah. MKTG?
MKTG used to be US Concepts.
Yeah.
And great, interviews. Then I went to Diageo, to the corporate, and I interviewed there as well. And they told me, yeah, we'll call you. So I, packed up, got my bags, got to the airport. And I don't know if you remember, in those days around 2007, there was an issue with JetBlue. People were like stuck in an airplane.
Yeah. Did someone freak out? Is that what it was? Like someone get an argument? I can't remember.
So yeah, they got stuck and they didn't let them out. And basically they were there for hours.
Oh, yeah.
So it was exactly the same day or the day before, but there was a blizzard or something happening with the weather, no flights were leaving New York. So I'm there, I'm looking at all these people, like the floor, you couldn't see a spot to lay down.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm thinking, you know what, this is going to be a horrible experience already. So after a few hours, of course, delay, I'm thinking, of course, they're going to cancel it.
Yeah.
They cancel it, and everybody gets directed to the desk to see, what's the next step.
Right.
Well, I started the line maybe around 12 at night. I got to the counter around 4 a.m.
Oh my God, man.
I was so pissed, of course, knowing about my father, all the do's and don'ts. And they gave me a hotel, but they lost my luggage as well. So I got to the hotel in my suit. At least I slept, in a bed.
Yeah.
A lot of people had
sleeping on the
sleep
floor
on the
there.
floor.
Yeah.
They will give you a pillow and that will be it. So I'm trying to get through the line to find out, when can I leave, what flight. Everything is busy. So for hours, busy. So I think, you know what? I'm going to call the Spanish line.
Oh,
maybe the Spanish line is going to go through. Well, it went through. And I was able to get a flight out to Phoenix. And after a day, that was the only flight that left, I believe.
Really?
They told me, like, don't tell anybody. That's the only flight that is leaving. And it got delayed. I was like, no, this is not going to happen again. Finally, they tell us you can board. I go to Phoenix, and a few hours later, I got another plane to go to Houston. I'm arriving with my bags, after like
so
all
found
these things,
no,
just my carry-on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm, getting into the door, and the phone rings. And I answer the phone, and it's New York. It's like, you need to be in Mexico tomorrow.
Oh, gee.
I was like, no way. So yeah, it happened like so fast. It was something.
So you thought it was gonna? They say it's gonna take a month.
Correct.
You're like, can't do a month. They're like, okay, well then come to New York tomorrow. Basically, you do it. You go through a whole gauntlet of unfortunate events,
obstacles, and finally it's like.
But it seems like that's the karmic thing. That's how everything balances out, right? You go through this real shitty week, maybe, and you arrive in the door, ready to go to sleep, get your stuff together, just write it off. You get a call.
Yes.
You got to go down. And so where do they have you staying in Mexico?
So basically I started working as the ambassador in those days, it was the Diageo portfolio, which included Don Julio and Cuervo.
Oh, okay.
So, and that was the beginning of my relationship with Diageo, and still very strong to this day.
It's incredible. Man, because we're here, it's kind of like in a radio capacity. Did you like the radio thing? Did you like interviewing people, talking?
I loved it. It really is a very unique thing.
Yeah.
The issue with it is, sometimes the management isn't right, and the owner of these stations was not exactly professional.
Right.
So we started getting into a few conversations where I didn't believe, the direction it was going, and I decided to leave. But it's a beautiful industry. Yeah, I still have a lot of friends in this industry, and a lot of my friends from that industry actually did the jump to spirits as well.
It's not so different.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about talking to people, you think about sharing and being honest and open. I mean, this is kind of what this whole spirit thing is about.
Yeah. So that was the start of my career with
Diageo.
With Tequila and Diageo. And
so what year are we talking? Did you start with Don Julio and Cuervo?
Correct.
What year, roughly?
It was 2007.
2007. All right. So we're about 8 years. Actually, my math's off for 9 years. But it's been a pretty good journey since. So, like I said, we've been talking about a year about trying to arrange this conversation. And how, since 2007, how much has agave blown up?
Oh my God,
it's a different world
insane.
now, isn't it?
So just to give you a perspective from Houston, when I started, I don't recall having any other ambassador of any other brand of any spirit. At that
Really?
time. I believe I was the first ambassador of any brand.
That's incredible.
In Houston.
Yeah.
They existed other ambassadors, but not in Houston at all.
Right. Well, no one thought it was a market yet.
Correct.
And it's massive.
Correct. So to me, it was a great experience to spearhead that ambassadorship, and to see today how much it has grown and expanded. It's amazing.
It's when you get a place like Pastry War, for example, right?
Correct.
It's a mecca of agave. Some of the bottles that they have, and I mean, it seems like this journey since 2007. You've probably met a whole lot of other people you never would have thought in the agave industry, or in this case, Sotol, which is not agave necessarily, but
absolutely, there's a lot of people that I started, to meet in those days, and everything has been, evolving little by little. And to tell you the truth, I came from supposedly some type of standard of tequila that I knew from being in Mexico and being Mexican, and little by little I started realizing that, you know what, hold on, there's so much more that I don't know, that I need to learn, that I need to study, that I need to experience.
Yeah.
And today I still feel that way. It's amazing how every stage in your life you are living a different aspect.
Yeah.
Today, I have much more knowledge about spirits, but still I feel like I'm getting started.
It's incredible. And you have recently transitioned, and you're in town because of Diageo World Class, which we'll talk about in a second. But it sounds like you've got a bigger title and a bigger role and more brands now than you ever did. And you're officially working with Diageo now, right?
So it's still under a third company,
okay.
Correct? So this is the new program of Diageo Reserve, and it's been in place globally, and it's directly with Diageo. Here it's through a third-party company, and there's different reasons.
Sure.
But it's a very new program that we're very excited about, and it's focusing on more from brand-centric to more of a restaurant-centric, bar-centric.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And some of the great. I mean, you got an all-star portfolio now that you rep, right? You still have Don Julio, which is very wonderful tequila, but now you guys recently, whether there's some info out there about it, but Union Mezcal. So now you brought another agave spirit into the portfolio. How does that feel, like kind of having this more to work with?
Yes, it's awesome, and it's a unique situation as well, because we don't own it. So the project, I think, is one of the best that I've seen from Diageo.
Yeah.
It's called Diageo Ventures, and is helping small producers to really reach the consumer.
Yeah.
So it's more about helping with distribution. So even though we don't own it, or we are working together with the producers to get it to the bars and to the consumer, and that's amazing. Having an agave spirit like Mezcal Union, it's amazing.
That's incredible, and I love that concept. And it's something that, as a small guy who owns a distillery, I don't always think about the big guys being an incubator for startups, which is kind of how it works, like in the tech world. I mean, that's really, really a generous thing. From your perspective, why do you feel Diageo gives back in that way?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about sometimes, big companies. In this case, we're talking about the biggest.
Yeah.
But it's run by people, and people is what makes, the difference, I think. In terms of programs that I've seen, in the past, every brand is unique, and they manage it differently.
Yeah.
Diageo Ventures is something to me that I didn't have a line of sight before, and actually I did work with Glazers as well as a portfolio development, and one of my duties was also launch all the innovation brands.
Oh wow!
So I was also able to see the process of how a brand was created from, perception and all these steps that had to go through, and maybe, there were 5 steps and they would go through all 4 excellent, and the 5th one, will fail and
Right.
everything will collapse. So to be able to launch new brands and see it, this process was always, it was a great thing. And I didn't know about Diageo Ventures until recently. And I was in Miami a few weeks ago, and we were there for the finals of World Class.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to see other brands, not only Unión Mezcal, but other brands as well that are working with Diageo in order to get them, to reach the end consumer in the United States and in the world. So to me, that is, something special. Like I said, it's about people. I met with the owner, one of the partners, and great person, and it's all about that. Sometimes like the picture that a few people have about big brands, and even though Don Julio, it's a relatively small brand, because it's part of, Diageo, they see it as something huge.
Yeah.
And we feel and we look big. We have a big footprint, but we're not that big. So to me, to have that infrastructure to get that product in the hands of people in the other side of the world, it's amazing. So when I go to Greece, I go to the Clumsy's restaurant. And my friend, the owner, Vasilis Kiritsis, and he has it, and he has all these lines. And to me, that's amazing. That's where I feel that sometimes, these big brands get to do so much good.
Yeah, to give back. Because, Diageo gets some crap. We know that. And I'll tell you what, though, the past few interviews I've had with people from Diageo, it really sounds like it's a well-rounded, and I'm not trying to placate, I don't have any dog in this race, right? Like, this is about people to me. Always has been the podcast and just this industry. But Diageo sounds like they're doing some wonderful things. And honestly, if given the opportunity, if they said, "Hey, we want to help," I would be open to that. I think that's a great thing for them to do.
And it's I've had a great 9 years working with the brands and working alongside with them. Even though when I was with Glazers, basically I was working with Diageo, and it's been a great relationship. I think I'm here because of their support as well. And like I said, it's all about people. That's and they own, of course, many different brands. They're all run very differently. Don Julio, that's one of my babies that I love so much because, it's been run from the beginning as Don Julio left it. And in the hands of master distiller Enrique de Colza, who basically was the only person that Don Julio will entrust with the distillery, started and has kept everything the same way, intact. And that has helped us, maintain our identity.
Absolutely.
And the liquid, and
integrity.
Quality.
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with if you're big or small.
Yeah.
It has to do with the heritage that we started with and that we continue to have.
I think that's amazing, and it's holding yourself to a certain level of value and a certain level of standard in the brand. Great thing. So you're in town though for something special, and this is happening at the Roosevelt Room tomorrow. I think all day is about 4 or 5 hours in the chunk of the middle. You get some great people coming into town. Sean Kenyon's in town. Charles Jolie's in town. You're in town for Diageo World Class. Now, I'm kind of foreign to the subject. Obviously, I know Diageo, I know the guys that are coming into town. But ultimately, what is this class about? What is this program about?
So I think that this program started globally, and it was a little late to come to the United States. There was a few legalities and things, but now it's being run by the USBG. So, of course, Diageo is on the backbone, helping and putting all this together. And it's all about giving resources to learn different things, different methods of making great cocktails.
Okay.
And I love it because, yes, we get to work with so many different, great people.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Charles Joly or Jeff Bell. When it started, a few years ago, I remember, being in the first conversations about it. And it has grown so much. Of course, I've done a few of them as well, working together with Charles. where there's education about the brands, and we do present the brands because it's part of it. When you are competing, you need to know where it came from, how it's made, so that you can maybe refer to it and have something in your presentation that has to do with why you present it this way or that way, or why it tastes like this.
A sense of time and place to tie it to,
Correct.
because you have to have a narrative with a cocktail. So that makes a lot of sense.
Correct. So in this, like tomorrow, we're going to be actually doing a session that is more about sensory.
How to taste, if I understand, right?
To give you an example, Charles tells everybody, okay, put these clips in your nose, and you're not going to be able to smell anything.
Right.
And he will, take something and tell you, okay, try this. And you will say right away, oh, this is salt. All right, take the pin out, and it's not salt.
Yeah.
It's going to be something totally different.
Wow.
And it's about the experience of even, a cocktail that is cold versus something that is not cold. It's the same basic, ingredients, but they taste different, utilizing different acids, to as a like lime or the citric acid,
Right.
other acids. The same thing with the sugar, glucose, sucrose, how they change the cocktail. And it's going to be more about that. And that's what I like about World Class. There is always elevating, the standards. And it's about learning. It's about community as well, coming together and being, one voice. This is part of a competition, of course, at the end, is for new people and seasoned as well, bartenders that want to do it. We all started somewhere.
Sure.
So to me right now, it's about reaching out to the people that already have a good standard, and maybe they can become
even more
the winner to represent the United States, or somebody that is barely starting, to really start thinking about what are the things that I need to start learning in order to get to that level.
It's amazing. So are you going to be facilitating a class? Or are you just going to be attending?
Tomorrow, actually, we're going to be there just supporting and helping. And of course, it's about community, like I said. So I'm very excited to see a lot of friends. It's going to be at the Roosevelt.
Yeah.
So Justin and, Dennis, and seeing everybody.
Yeah.
I love Austin. It's an amazing city. I always have said, what, if I had an opportunity to live somewhere, it would be Austin. And I still haven't moved, but
I know.
but
I was waiting for it. I figured at some point you'd eventually make your way. But you're still in Dallas, right?
Yes, I'm still in Dallas right now, and I think that I'm gonna stay in Texas for a while. Another, city that entices me a lot is Denver.
Really? Oh,
very
I love
cool.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, very
Speaking
cool
of Sean,
city.
who will be in town. Yeah.
Yes, Sean Kenyon. Yeah. So but Austin has always had this, unique vibe, and it's great to see all the people and be able to come and visit and talk to them.
We support. I mean, we love agave stuff here. We love good people. I mean, it is, to me, at least certain pockets, an extension of the hospitality of Mexico itself. This industry is that way.
Yes.
Well, it then begs the question, because this is kind of the last question I've got for you, but you've done a lot of different things. You come from a very academic, erudite background with your father. You're very smart. You're very driven. You didn't get your ass kicked out of the lobby when you went to try to get a job. This is all good stuff. This seems like luck's been on your side. Opportunity's been on your side, as well as having to sleep on an airport for all of this. I wonder, though, with the love and the passion you keep developing for spirits, the more that you learn, that at some point, do you want to own your own spirit? Do you want to make something that's yours?
You know what? That question has always been on my mind. But I really enjoy being out there, supporting other brands, being with people.
Yeah.
In order to have my own brand, and in this case, will definitely be, an agave spirit.
Yeah.
I will have to move to Mexico. I will have to lose, all these great and amazing, ways of being with people in bars and restaurants. And I don't think, I think that will be the hardest, part.
Yeah.
If I did develop or try to work with a brand. To me, it's more about right now helping different bars and different restaurants to be more profitable, be more successful, and help them give great cocktails to consumers. And I had a lot of mentors in my life, and Elaine Duff always told me, your cocktail is going to be as good as the cheapest ingredient, and that got stuck into me. And that's where I love telling all these stories and helping the new bartenders that are coming into the market. I think I will miss that too much for me to just leave all that and start my own brand.
A man of the people. That's what you are, Jorge. Maybe politics are in the future. Who knows, right?
No.
You and Ricardo could be on the same ticket. Well, I'm glad we finally worked this out. I'm glad that we met at this time. What is it? The beginning of a really cool week. A lot of good stuff happening this week. And then Diageo World Class tomorrow at the Roosevelt Room. Really looking forward to catching up more. I'll probably see you tomorrow. So, Jorge, thank you so much for visiting and chatting, man.
Mike, thank you. And like we said, we finally were able to sit down and have this wonderful Sotol. And this is a call to our friend Ricardo Pico. We're sipping right now in one of these pechugas that is actually made from beef from the Madera region. That is like the forest of Sotol in Chihuahua. And it's just a call to all the friends out there.
The nose on this is so wonderful. You can smell it through this microphone, everybody. Thanks again, Ricardo, lovely Sotol, and Jorge for joining me.
Thank you.
So what do you guys think of Jorge? A friend of the industry. We've been trying to coordinate this interview for some time. A lot of shaking up and shaking down at Diageo, but honestly, it's great to hear it from Jorge about the wonderful support that Diageo gives to its suppliers, its partners, and how it looks to promulgate the success of other types of spirits in this industry. Often they have the target on their back as being the biggest, the bad guys, but it sounds like they're doing some great work, and I can't wait to see what Jorge does with the Latin Spirits Reserve portfolio, some great rums and tequilas in the mix there. A friend of the industry, and thank you so much for chatting with me, Jorge. And thank you for listening to Show to V with Mike G. I've got some great interviews coming up, and no matter how much you ate during Thanksgiving and wondering how many pounds you've gained in a week, or if you're looking forward to going back to work this Monday, please keep dancing.